Thank you for joining us today. It's our second information session about our work with the Social Finance Fund. And I'm Laurentia. I'm the lead impact measurement for portfolio managers at Common Approach, and more specifically about my work with the Social Finance Fund. I support SFIs, wholesalers in implementing the Common Impact Data Standards, and I'm seeing that I cannot share my screen anymore. No, I can share my screen, sorry. Okay. I just want to tell you also that today's session is part of a series of information sessions. So at Common Approach, we want to work openly, transparently. So we decided to, cut several pieces of all the information that we have that can sometimes be a lot of information into pieces and into information sessions to inform you about how we are progressing. And also because it's really important for us to share with you and have feedback from you, hear your questions. So it's really, this information is really about that. So maybe also today you won't have all the answers to all of your questions because we've already seen this, in former information sessions or maybe in the next information sessions. So I just want to start by giving you, an overview of what we covered already and what will be coming up. So in the last information session, we presented our role with the Social Finance Fund. We also explained a bit more our standard, what is a common approach and how it works in practice. I'm going maybe to ask my colleague to share in the chat with you the link to the recording of the session if you want to take a look at it and have more details around this. So that's why I'm going to skim very quickly at the beginning just to recap some of the information for you to understand today's session. But today we are going to focus specifically on what we call the high-level process map. So it's really to give you a big picture of the entire project of implementing the Common Impact Data Standards within the social finance. As you know, well, there's a lot of stakeholders involved, a lot of activities to implement, a lot of interconnection between those activities. So I think our intention today is just to provide a little more clarity on what will happen, what order, with whom. So it's really about today's session. And then for next information session, we'll go into more details about impact data collection for social finance intermediaries. I will also have a session dedicated to software acquisition. And we'll have other info sessions also based on your feedback, based on your questions around the gaps also that we're seeing as the work proceeds. So on our agenda today, we will, as I told you already, we'll give a brief recap of the last info session to make sure that the new people here are following what we'll discuss today. Then we'll also introduce you to the high-level process map for implementing the Common Impact Data Standard within the Social Finance Fund. And then we'll have a question and answer period at the end. So very quickly, Common Approach to Impact Measurement was created to solve social purpose organization while meeting the needs of funders and investors. We make impact measurement standards. I'm not going to go too much deep into the standards, but there are 4 related standards that are designed for and governed by social purpose organization. We want to make more, we want to make impact measurement more better. So meaning more flexible, more shareable, more relevant and useful for social purpose organization and the communities they serve. And then in French also. And then maybe we want to introduce you or remind you a bit about our 2 guiding principles. The first one will go pretty quickly, but the Common Approach is shaped by all its users. So it's really the social purpose organization that actually adopt our standards, have input and decision making also in the way of how our standards are evolving. And I think the second, which is also very important for the social finance fund, is that we recognize that both impact measurement and standard setting are practices associated with power, permitting action at distance. We are committed to building impact measurement standard that place the power with operating charities and social purpose businesses and those they serve, rather than focusing primarily on the impact measurement needs of foundation, grant makers, and impact investors. So when the Social Finance Fund decided to work with Common Approach, I think was really to send a message to give power back to social purpose organization. And I want you to focus specifically on point E here. I'll leave you a few minutes to read it. But really, it's how Common Approach contributes to reconciliation effort through impact measurements. So we recognize that in developing impact measurement standards. I'm sorry, can you close your mic, please, because I can hear someone. Thank you very much. So recognize that in developing impact measurement standards, our work is very much rooted in history, and we are working with our community to try to develop standards that are based on the needs of social purpose organizations and their beneficiaries. So a quick recap of last information session and just a bit overview of the Common Impact Data Standard, because we're going to talk about it in our document after. But basically, if I want to recap, is that we are going to develop, like the Common Impact Data Standard is a model on how the data is structured and how it's going to be used in the Social Finance Fund. And this is very the basic level, minimum level of information, but the Common Impact Data Standard will help to collect data around themes, outcomes, indicators, and indicator reports. And this standard make it highly shareable between the different stakeholders, and we'll see how it goes. Also, the Common Impact Data Standard help also to collect more data than just that. So depending on how also the impact data collection requirements will evolve, maybe at some point we have more and more data that will be collected. But what's important for you to know is that there is room for data and impact data and data about the impact data collected in our standard. How it works in practice is that a social purpose organization, so investees, will record the impact data using a software database that is aligned with the Common Impact Data Standards. Then they will be able to export a file, which we call JSON-LD file. It's like a whole database in a text file, so it's kind of like CSV file, but much with that keeps like they have more richer information and that keeps the complexity of the data. So we use JSON-LD file to have the big, like the good and like relevant picture of the impact data. And then they can, investors can share it with their founders and partners. So meaning that they can share their JSON-LD file to their social finance intermediary that they received investment from, but also they can send it to wholesalers. And at the end, founders, so meaning social finance intermediaries and wholesalers, can import those files into their own aligned software, their own database, and can create their own aggregation depending on what like the framework they want to use. So if they want to use SDGs, if they want to use IRIS Plus or the custom framework, it's really up to them to create their own aggregation. So it's really about sharing data and making sure that everyone is using the data as they want to use in the framework they want to use. About today, the high-level process map, I wanted to just introduce you a bit why we developed this quite quickly. So the idea behind it is that we wanted to define the activities that need to be carried out for the Social Finance Fund implementing the Common Impact Data Standard, in what time frame and with which stakeholders. So it's really to understand what should come first, what should be prioritized, and who are we going to work with at different stages. It's also to be able to reach an agreement on the high-level implementation roadmap with wholesaler and ESDC. So we have like a working group for a few months now already, where we work with wholesalers and ESDC to have a big picture of what will be the implementation roadmap. And for sure, then it serves as a communication tool to help you better understand what it will look like in reality and in practice. And also, it's really interesting to raise relevant questions for further work. So it's really, yeah, we use it as a brainstorming tool to figure out what are the biggest questions, what do we need to work on first. So you will see it's like it can be much complex than what we're going to show you today, but that's where we see it, and we see it also as a really iterative tool to move the project forward. So it gives us an idea of the plan, but the idea is that the plan is going to be iterative. So as we work with you, as we hear from you, it's going to change a bit and be iterative tool. So I'm not going to show you this, but just for you to understand that it's more complex than what you're seeing today, but it's we work with wholesalers about finding all the activities and trying to really detail all the information, raise questions, and we ended up having a more communicative tool, I would say, for you to understand, and having just the key activities. So today I'm going to walk you through the map, the simplified version, and then we'll have questions around it. So maybe if my colleague also can share the link to the documents, and I'm going to try to share the other. Yes, perfect. So French, and in French is just down here, so it's the same document if you want to open the document, le français juste en dessous. So this is the high-level process map simplified version. How to read this, because it's kind of complex, and I'm going to try to walk you through and make you navigate around that. But just for you to understand that in the colored boxes, we put the main activities of each stakeholders who we will be working with. So in blues, it's activities with from wholesalers. In green, it's activities from social finance intermediaries, and in orange, it's activities from social purpose organization. The gray boxes are the activities that will be undertaken by Common Approach. And the arrows, they help us understand what are the interconnection, the links between the different activities from the different stakeholders, and also what needs to be done in which order. So what's the time frame? Some of the activities are already being done or currently in the process of being done, and some are still to be processing. So I'm trying to walk you through the document with you, starting from the top left with activities from wholesalers, and then going to SFI and then to SPOs. Maybe I'm going to put here, yes. Yes, perfect. So it's already done, but the wholesalers, so they already developed the investment strategy and implemented different structure, and they're currently, most of them, designing investment processes and choosing the tools specifically dedicated to impact measurement. Where we come here is that we are working with wholesalers on their implementation roadmap of implementing the Common Impact Data Standard. We are advising them of software selection. We are supporting them in aligning the processes and tools to align with our standards. And we're not there yet, but when they have aligned all the tools and processes, the idea is that we're going to test with them import and export of dummy data. So, I show you that funders need to import impact data using JSON LD. We're going to test this with dummy data. Then the idea is that when the wholesalers go into the scout and identify potential social finance intermediaries, that's where we are here today. Is we want to raise awareness about the common approach and educate social finance intermediaries about processes, cost of aligning with the common impact data standards. Then when we move to when wholesalers do due diligence and capacity screening for impact measurements, it's important to also have some level of assessment where SFIs what the SFI are doing in terms of impact measurement. So that's where we come here, and we help to provide material to support wholesalers in assessing social finance intermediary impact measurement practices, and help them understanding where they're at in terms of aligning with potentially with the common impact data standard. Then when the wholesaler invests in a social finance intermediary, we provide guidelines for wholesalers, side letters, for example, for understanding better what are the requirements in terms of non-financial reporting, so around impact data. And then, I'm gonna just move to the SFI journey, but it's just like, it's really in mirror. So if you look at the SFI journey, the SFI learn about the social finance requirement, apply to funding, go through the diligence process, so it's the same. And when there's negotiation and commitment, the SFI also consents when they signing the term sheet to implement the common impact data standards along in the process. And the idea is that when the SFI also implement the fund structure and processes, and then review and choose impact reporting tools, we're here to help. So first, wholesalers are here to help. So Realize Capital Partners is leading the capacity building activities around impact measurements. So social finance intermediary will have support in impact measurement practices, and we are going to provide some support also around all the question around implementing the common impact data standard. So it's really two different components, but that are very linked, because for your impact measurement practices, you need to use the common impact data standard, but for using the common impact data standard, you need to have also some minimum capacity around impact measurement. And then we help also, so just for you to understand, it's the same process with wholesalers, but we're going to help social finance intermediaries around implementing tools and processes in place to make sure that they're using the common impact data standard. So we are going to review with them tools, practices, support them really hands-on, I would say, in aligning with our standard, and figure out also if the social finance intermediary needs some specific technical assistance. So if we see that there's room for development and need some assistance, support from wholesalers, but it can also be from third-party technical assistance. And then the idea is the same, is that once the social finance intermediaries align, we test with them imports and exports of the common impact data standard using dummy data. And we're here to support the entire alignment process, and meaning that we here also to support on software selection specifically if needed at some point. And then if we go a bit further down, because then social finance intermediary will be here to scout and identify potential investors, and then select, perform due diligence. And then it's important in due diligence the same, that social finance intermediary are doing some capacity screening for impact measurement for their investees. So we're going to be here to develop some activities around communication material for SPOs about alignment, because it's important that investees that will get investment from social finance intermediaries understand that they will need to adopt the common impact data standard. We're going to provide also some guidelines on assessing impact measurement practices for SPOs. So once the social finance intermediary invests in the social purpose organization, it's the same. We're going to provide guidelines for side letters, for non-financial reporting requirements for the SPOs, for them to understand that when they need to commit to implement the common impact data standard. And then, well, when the SPO receive investment, the social finance intermediaries will support also SPOs in impact measurement practices. And we hear capacity building activities will be here also to provide some trainers. So also help social finance intermediaries to support their investors in terms of impact measurement and in terms of adopting the common impact data standards. Maybe I'm just going to go a bit down there to understand a bit what's going on with the SPO journey. But so same in mirror, the SPO journey, the SPO find out about the social finance intermediary funding and apply. They go through due diligence and they consent to implement the common impact data standards. And then they go, once they receive investment, at some point, we have employee time to do that, but then potentially the investors and the SPOs will work or rework on their impact model and impact measurement processes. And that's where also we're here to support, because we're here, same activities to review tools and processes in place to support alignment with the common impact data standard. There will be some online resources also linked to referral to third-party technical assistance if not adequate. And then same, we're going to test export of data, impact data using GSAN-LD, and advise potentially on software selection, because SPO will most likely also need to use software. And the idea is that when they're aligned, well, we make them align with the common impact data standard. They will collect the data and then they will report on the data. So then it means that real data will come from SPO to SFI to wholesalers to then ESDC. So if you look at here, so we support the GSAN-LD export of SPO data, and then the SFI will receive this data and will support the import of this data. We will support SFIs in the roll-up of dissimilar indicators, meaning that they will receive all the information from all the investors that will automatically populate into the software. And we're going to support them because it's going to be very bespoke indicators. So we're going to help them group those indicators together in bigger constructs. And we're going to support them in analysis of impact data of the SPO. And then when all the information of all SPOs is into the system, then SFIs can export data using same GSAN-LD files, and then they can send it to wholesalers. So meaning that wholesaler at the end here will import data, and they will receive SPO and SFI impact data. Then we'll work with wholesalers to do the roll-up of dissimilar indicators. So maybe one SFI has a very different impact framework than the wholesalers. So it means that it's very customizable, and then wholesalers can do very different aggregation. And then we're going to support wholesalers to do that. And then they can, once again, themselves export this data and send it to ESDC. So ESDC will receive SPO, SFI, and wholesaler data using the Common Impact Data Standard. So the idea is that everyone has a very customizable impact framework. They can choose the indicators, they can choose the outcomes and theme they want. And the data is shared very easily. So meaning that, for example, social finance intermediaries, they don't have to fill a form to the wholesalers every year for each SPOs they're investing in, because it's going to be automatically be exported and shareable to wholesalers, and wholesalers will have the big picture of all the information of social purpose organization. I'm gonna share my last screen if I can. Slide. So as I said, it's just one document. We gave some information before. So we're going to give more information in the next info session. So maybe you didn't understand everything, but the idea is that we have 30 minutes of question and answer after, but also just for you to know that we have a website where we give updates from our data collection working group. So we're working, as I said, with wholesalers and ESDC, and we put agendas so you can see what we're working on with them. And you can also see any important documents. So next information session will come soon also. So if you're here, you're already in the mailing list, but you will receive more information. And also, well, you can book a meeting with me, you can contact me, I can answer any questions you may have. Maybe I'm gonna ask my colleagues just to put the link to book a meeting directly with me, because I'm sure it raised a lot of questions.